Welcome back to the Fox Robbins Business Show. Great to have you back. This is really a second session of a two-session set with our guests, Michael Betjhlich and Gerry Clayton. But we'll get into that. But I want to welcome you back to the show. I'm your host, Bill Fox, and the co-host is Cliff Robbins.
Bill, how are you?
The evanescent Cliff Robbins. And this show, the Fox Robbins Show, is all about developing your best business ideas. And we always want to talk about either upgrading existing businesses or starting a new business, whatever the case might be. But we want to encourage longer lasting career opportunities, interesting career opportunities, and higher paying jobs for young people in Southeast Massachusetts. And in that regard, we have a more content tonight with Gerry Clayton and Michael Betjhlich. And so we want to get right into our regular feature of the show, which is Cliff's Notes. And Cliff, last time, on the first section of this set of shows, you talked about E-Myth. Mm-hmm. Not that we're not hustling books on this show.
No.
That's not our game. Huh? But we do, if a book deserves outstanding attention, and this one does,
yep,
we like to talk about
Absolutely.
it. And I think you had a couple more comments in Cliff's Notes about E-Myth, so take it away.
I do. Thank you, Bill. I do have a few more comments. I mentioned in the last show, just talking about the importance of working on a business, not just in the business, the importance of understanding all of the functional areas that you're going to be responsible for your business, be it marketing, human resources, the financial side of your business, the managing side, the human development, the business development, all of these functional areas. You've got to understand how to do these things to really build a business. And one of the ways that you can learn these issues certainly is by attending some schools and getting some education in these areas. I also mentioned that 4 out of 5 businesses fail in the first 5 years. That's because people, although they know how to do the technical side of business, they don't know how to be a manager of a business. They don't know how to build it. They don't know how to sustain it. They don't understand how to do those things. I'm telling you, make sure you do learn how to do those issues. We talk about the new rules of marketing and PR, which is another book we've talked about on this show. Well, if you don't understand the old rules, you'll never understand the new rules. And so if you don't understand the basic science, and I say science of managing a business, you'll never really be able to effectively, except maybe over time if you were lucky enough to survive, learn the art. You know, when we have a commencement, when we give kids their degrees, their bachelor's or master's degree, we call it a commencement, and commencement means it's a beginning. They've understood the science now, they've done the casework, they've gotten the grades, they've gotten some knowledge, but they're going to go out into the field, Bill, and they're going to start to practice the art. I mean, it's one thing to tell a kid, look, I'm going to teach you how to paint. Stick the fuzzy end in the paint, not the wooden end. But that doesn't mean he's Monet, right? and it's the same thing in a business. There's a lot to understanding. There's a lot to being an entrepreneur. There's a lot to getting out there and living your dream and building a business that you really want to work in and something you want to develop from your heart and your soul. It takes imagination. It takes innovation. It takes persistence, and it takes an entrepreneur is really somebody who has what we call an internal locus of control, somebody that knows they're going to do what they have to do to be successful. And one of the things you're going to have to do is understand all of those different functional areas, because all of those areas come into play when you're trying to build a business that provides value to customers. You have to understand that basic issue, that's critical. And you have to understand, of course, as I'm always preaching, job one. And job one is creating customers. And the way you create a customer is by executing a good, solid marketing plan. And those are the things that you don't necessarily know because you're a technician. And these are the things that you can learn very easily. There's all kinds of books. And of course, tonight we're going to talk about some formal educational systems that we are very, very fortunate to have come together here on Cape Cod. We've had Cape Cod Community College for, I don't know, 30, 40 years or something, 1961, I think, it's close to 50 years now, isn't it? Right? And now we've got the University of Massachusetts, which is, as we will explain, a world-class institution. People in Massachusetts don't realize what a jewel UMass is, all right? People around the world do, as Gerry will explain to you, but we've got to get up to speed on that. So I'm really excited about getting back with tonight's guests again?
Well, this is the second round with these same guests that you invited, and it was a terrific find on your part to bring them in and explain to everybody what's going on in business education.
Right.
I just want to remind everybody that we're on this show will be Gerry Clayton, who is assistant dean at the Charlton's College of Business at University of Mass Dartmouth, who has a doctorate from the University of Waikato in New Zealand, and has held senior appointments with the New Zealand Army and the University of Auckland and Waikato in New Zealand.
He's wicked smart, you know.
He's an outstandingly smart person.
He really
Widely
is.
published in strategic management and leadership, and has performed extensive studies on the New Zealand wine industry and immigrant entrepreneurship. And now at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth.
Right.
And he's teamed up with Michael Betjhlich, who is professor at Cape Cod Community College. He's in the business department and teaches in management and entrepreneurship.
Right.
Also has his own consulting business outside or apart from the college, which is Betjhlich and Associates. He's a local boy. Comes from Rochester, Massachusetts. Studied at UMass and at Babson, up in Boston, which is your school, also your school. And he worked at Raytheon as a financial analyst, and then got into teaching and is at 4Cs. So let's hear those two guys again.
Welcome back, guys.
Welcome back to the Fox Robbins Business Show. Great to have you back, and for the we're going to have a second session with our honored guests, and they are Gerry Clayton and Michael Betjhlich.
That's right.
Thank you. And great to have you guys back for the second session. And I want to start this session. It kind of got away from me. I wanted to ask you about the specifics of getting into the business program at Cape Cod Community College, and the graduate portion. If you can give us some mechanics as to how do you get into the program and what happens to you, and talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, do you want to start?
Well, I'll start by saying that if somebody wants to take a course with us, it's as simple as picking up the phone or sending an email or visiting our website. You can enroll via our website. If you're very serious about the program and want to become a matriculated student, you should make an appointment and come down and visit our admissions office and so forth. But it's not a difficult process.
Of course, they can call you.
They can call me, and I'd be glad to talk to them in particular about the management and marketing programs, which has this special dovetailing with the University of Mass.
And in terms of moving on to UMass Dartmouth, you can actually dual enroll while you're at the Cape in the program, so you're doing the 2+2 immediately. You can come and talk to me, and I'm always there on Tuesdays, or I can make a special time to come down. Or you can do it online, the UMass Dartmouth site.
You personally are operating back and forth between UMass Dartmouth and Cape Cod Community College.
Yep. So I sit there on Tuesdays, and I will come down for special events. I mean, Mike had a nice coffee and cake.
My wife baked the coffee.
So I only came down for the cake, but I also got to meet the students, which was great.
And came to classes, and we're getting to know each other, and so far seem to be getting along.
Understandably so. I mean,
and make sure when you call Michael or Gerry, tell them that Cliff and Bill sent you.
Right.
Yeah.
but there's no referral monies, don't worry.
Yeah, that's right. So the mechanics are simple, in other words, and that's for students who are either currently enrolled at Cape Cod Community College or are not enrolled but want to, and get a piece of this action.
It might be a high school student that has just graduated or is soon to graduate, and they're trying to make a decision about what to do. Explore all sorts of options, and we certainly want to be there for them to talk to and to share why it is that getting a business education makes sense today.
And Gerry, what about those people? I mean, they already have a college degree, have a BA, let's say, and what happens to those people?
Well, we're also offering the UMass Dartmouth MBA on the Cape as well. And so it's again seamlessness from any degree through to it. If you've got a business degree, it's pretty much straight in. If you come from, say, a liberal arts or an engineering or a health field, you may need to do some foundation courses in business statistics, economics, and so on. But you can do that as a certificate program which bridges you into the MBA. And that's literally from anybody who's graduated from a college or a university in the States.
Okay, so the mechanics are easy, or fairly easy, user-friendly.
Again, I'm on the Cape on Tuesday, so they can come and see me. We have open houses on the Cape.
And the website, what's the best website to go to?
Either one will direct you to it.
All right, one would be, Cape Cod Community
Cape
College.
Cod Community College website or the University of Massachusetts.
What is
Dartmouth
it? What
website.
is the Four Cs website? Is it
CapeCod.edu.
what?
CapeCod.edu.
CapeCod.edu.
UMassD.edu.
UMassD.edu.
But even if you go to the UMass site, it'll show you campuses, and then you just go down to the Dartmouth campus.
Okay, pretty easy.
Yeah,
You
very
can't miss it.
Yep.
Okay. How about, hey, Cliff?
So that's the beauty of the whole system, is that a kid coming out of high school can opt to go to the Cape Cod Community College to start to feel his or her way around the business world. They like it. They get an associate's degree in management, marketing. They decide they want to continue on to get a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration at a world-class institution, the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and never leave Hyannis and get the education right. And if they want to continue on or jump in anywhere along the way, they can go ahead and in a few more years get an MBA from the University of Massachusetts. That's the beauty of this. It makes it seamless all the way through. Never leave the Cape, never leave the beaches.
But if they do want to leave, they can. We also offer study abroad programs.
Right.
So you can go to Germany, which we've got relationships with German universities.
New Zealand?
New Zealand.
Right.
And I'd love to take down a wine tour for an MBA program. We've got the French connection as well.
Yep.
So you can get the best of the world
Right.
and not have to leave the Cape.
And at a very good value. It's
And
an outstanding value
Tremendous
proposition.
value. Say again, in the first show, for the folks that didn't see the first show,
Yes.
talk about the 3.0 and the transfer of credits and the tuition break.
Yeah, well, from my standpoint as a professor over at Cape Cod Community College in the business department, I'm looking for a good value for our students, and we're very excited that that essentially the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth Charlton School of Business is accepting the entirety of the program for either the management or the marketing, the entire 60 credits. To make it even better, if the student has a 3.0 average or more, I believe the tuition reduction is 1/3.
Yep.
That's a pretty good deal. That's a fantastic value for the money, especially in these troubled times.
And if you're coming back to study and you haven't got a 3-point GPA, we also have a special blue and gold scholarship for continuing education students, which you can apply for, which gives the same waiver.
Fantastic.
That's great. Well, one thing I wanted to get back to is it's a favorite of Coach Robbins and myself, which is it's the word reality. And reality is, I bring it up because I think it's got to be daunting for college-age people to see General Motors go to Chapter 11 court.
Right.
That's astounding. Of course, for my generation, it's unbelievable because they used to say, as GM goes, so goes the country, and so forth. And to see that institution go out, but not just that, but here is a company that was gigantic. It had tremendous people and money resources. It had availability, all the consulting talent you could possibly want, internal talent, hiring kids out of the best schools and so forth, and then they're in Chapter 11. Why is that? And so I think that somewhere reality's got to be an issue about running a business, about watching your cost, about knowing where your market is, and all of this meat and potato stuff, Coach.
And those are all the things that GM didn't pay attention to.
Well, maybe, and I want to know, Gerry and Michael, I mean, are you telling these kids anything about reality, or are you still talking about pie in the sky in business school?
Well, we're very much into reality, and what's happening at GM is not unique. I mean, in the 19th century, one of the big industries in this area was ice cutting for ice boxes. How many ice cutting companies exist now?
Not many.
The refrigerator killed all of those, and they were the most efficient producers of ice literally in the world. You could get New England ice in India for your gin and tonics. But refrigerators killed that industry. But did New England die? It reinvented itself, it reinvigorated itself, and started to create wealth in different ways. And it's the same true for the United States. GM suffered what most corporations suffer, and that's this notion of efficiency over effectiveness.
Right.
The great thing about small businesses is they focus on the effect on their customer, the effect on the bottom line.
Right.
So what we're producing is students who think about effectiveness, not about necessarily about efficiency. That's not to say they shouldn't be efficient users of resources,
right.
but that is not the sole purpose of being in business. The sole purpose of being in business is to create wealth and prosperity, and the effectiveness of that.
Well, what about the running of the business? I mean, Coach Robbins likes to talk a lot about cash flow. He says cash flow is king. He also, I think he would admit that if he assembled a whole group of business persons, small business persons, in a room somewhere, in New England, and went around the room and said, I want from each of you, I want a definition of cash flow that maybe 1 out of 10 would provide a decent answer to that question.
That's true. Most people don't understand the importance of cash flow, and most people, particularly small business people, don't even understand the difference between profit and cash flow. But those who go to UMass, go to 4Cs, get the education that they need to understand the financial piece of their business. One of the biggest mistakes small business people make is they don't pay attention to the financials. They run their business out of their checkbook, and sales are okay, and they've got money, and they think they're okay. They're not. Too many times a business will call me and say, gee, I'm in trouble. I need to see you. I say, great, bring me the last 3 years of your financial statements and bring them on in, and I'll see you next Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock in my office. And this person shows up with their financial statements, and I'll spread them out on my desk, and inside of 2 minutes I'll ask a question, and the person sitting on the other side of the desk kind of shrugs their shoulders and goes, oh, I don't know, my accountant does that. And I say, no, your accountant doesn't do that. Okay, this is your business. You have to know what these numbers mean. These numbers are a management tool. These numbers can help you run your business effectively.
So, gentlemen, you're telling our students that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can look at all these sorts of things, and it is kind of terrifying, whether you're looking at businesses going belly up, or all the foreclosures and all of the other troubles that are out there. But on the other hand, to make use of one of Cliff's metaphors from the other shows, he talks about how the tide has gone out and the rocks are showing, and it's tough sailing out there. But for those that stay the course and are left standing, there's terrific opportunity out there. I like where Gerry was going in this notion of creative destruction, and it's a theme that Schumpeter, who coined the term entrepreneurship, or one of the people that coined it, and he talked about entrepreneurship being the destroying of the old economic order and the rebuilding of a new one. So it's true that it's extremely disruptive, and that you have all of these people dislocated at GM. You brought up GM, but this has fantastic opportunities too. And so for people who are really excited about an idea and are willing to do the work and who have a fundamentally sound business education, I think times couldn't have been better. Just like they say today, we've all lost so much money in the market, but when is the time to invest? Well, that would be now, when the market.
The blood is running in the streets.
That's right.
As Baron von Rothschild said, buy when there's blood in the streets.
Yeah. But coming back to your point in terms of what are the absolute applicability things, Well, I can almost guarantee you that if you looked at small businesses that have problems with cash flow, the first area will be inventory. They've actually built it up too much. The second will be collection of debt. They've let that go too long.
Right.
Or they're paying their own debts too soon.
Right.
So those 3 areas, you focus on those, and you actually can create a lot of cash.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As long as you pay attention.
Yep.
Well, Coach, you've mentioned about the financial side of the business, which is crucial, but you've also talked many times about the marketing. And there is another one. Talk about cash flow. If you had that room full of business people and went around that same room again and said, tell me what you think marketing is, that maybe 1 out of 10, would have an inkling, and yet it is one of the most crucial terms in business, most widely used, and most necessary to understand. But only 1 out of 10 in the room would have an inkling about that. You of course, you like to keep it simple and say, just find a customer, hug him, sell him something, and keep him for a customer.
Right, keep him because you make more money with that customer returning. If I asked a lot of people, business people, what define marketing, they'd probably come back with, well, that's my advertising program. Quite frankly, that's what they think. Well, that's part of the promotional piece of which we've talked about. We've done the marketing mix. So we did a show on the marketing mix, and I explained the 4 P's of marketing: the product, the price, the place, promotion. And I even went on and talked about the 3 other P's that I added, which were the people that are involved with the business and the performance of all of those issues, right? And the perception issue that marketing is a battle of perception. And you're right, I don't think too many people could give me that broad answer that marketing encompasses all of those issues. Most people would say, well, marketing, that's my advertising program. No, it's not just your advertising program.
Gerry, Michael, you're addressing that, the marketing side of the business,
Yeah,
of
I mean,
course.
it is essentially it's about relationship building. I mean, marketing is the person wants to come back and buy again from you.
CRM. We did a show on CRM.
Yeah, and that's key. And you're quite right. Most people mistake paying for advertising as marketing, and that simply is one piece of the pie.
I like to say that I think marketing ties back to integrity, what you're really passionate about and do well. And perhaps, you think a company like Mattel, which has incredible resources, just like GM, to think that they would be making toys with lead paint, to think that GM would drop the ball and put all of their eggs, say, in the SUV basket, and not really have the foresight, have the vision to say, gee, maybe we should diversify our portfolio here and put some research and development, a real serious R&D in economical hybrid cars, as Toyota and Honda did. I'd like to suggest that sometimes what happens is there is the intellectual capacity, the resources, the money, but we don't necessarily make the hard choices, the difficult decisions, whether it's a small business who decides not to look at the truth about their cash flow and make decisions about payroll or make decisions about investments so that they can survive another day. Similarly, to me, big companies oftentimes have sort of decided to put their head in the sand, whether it's out of hubris or whether it's out of perhaps conformity of thinking, and not really being brave and saying, gee, we need to do some different things. It's a resistance to change.
You hit the nail on the head too. It's hegemony and hubris. It's the feeling of power and that we know what we're doing.
We
know
what
GM.
We're doing, right?
Yeah,
and everybody nods their head around the board.
Wrong.
I mean, Rick Wagner, from the time he took over the company, the stock headed south. For the board, even up into last year, to be giving him a positive vote of confidence, that's groupthink.
That's a good old boy network.
Boy, we're picking on all.
You're on my board, I'll be on yours, right?
We're picking on all GM, but we should be maybe seeing perhaps a new GM. I mean, a reconfiguration along the lines of reality this time. Perhaps, I don't know. Also, you know, one of the things I was going to say real quick is that with GM, you know, they've been shuffling off as the Hummer and Saab.
They push cars.
And they had, you know, go back to when was that decision made that was part of their core results?
They're pushing
to pour money into those lines, which had nothing to do with building domestic credibility here.
They're pushing, and Toyota allows for a pull. Toyota listens to its customer, and you go down to the Toyota lot and you buy a blue Camry, and Toyota knows that blue Camry, and then they'll go ahead and make one. They do it by a pull method. They see what's happening in the marketplace.
That's what we need to do, Gerry, is we need to create a Camry with our partnership between 4Cs and University of Mass Dartmouth. We're trying to get the snowball rolling, and that's kind of why I'm trying to, you know, pull them in for coffee cake and pull you in to talk to the students. But hopefully our best marketing is going to be the students that are the early pioneers and go out and tell others about that great experience.
I personally wouldn't go for a Camry. I'd go for an Apollo.
Okay.
We want people who envisage a different world and can actually get to the moon. Do the impossible. I mean, it was impossible to think that the US would be able to put a man on the moon within a decade, and it did it. The US has the capacity to do anything it puts its mind to. It doesn't have to take lessons from anywhere else. They're here.
Does the Apollo have a cup holder?
I'm sure it could have one if you wanted it.
Right.
But in terms of GM, I mean, one of their real problems is that they did listen to the customer.
Right.
The customers were buying SUVs. But what they didn't realise is what business were they in? They weren't in the SUV business. They weren't even in the combustion engine business. They're in the people movement business.
Right.
And how were they going to create a
Myopic
portfolio
with the Theatre 11.
Right.
is
Argument.
to ensure that was going to be covered? And those are the things we challenge our students. We actually demand of them to critically review. So when they look at a case, they don't just accept it, but they actually critically review it and go through and say, well, what could have been done better?
So the case method is still
very much so.
A foundation, you know.
Even at the associates method, the students are going to be, at the associates level, are going to be engaged in the Harvard case study model and working by themselves and in groups to solve those sorts of cases. And we want also the students out before they finish up my management program. They're going to be out in an organization, a for-profit or non-profit organization, applying some of the things that they've learned.
Which becomes a living case as opposed to simply a canned case. And that's really important. It's
Well,
the application.
it's fantastic what you're telling us. I think Cliff and I are both excited about the opportunity that's come about because of this new partnership and the strengthening of business education available here, you know, in Southeast Massachusetts.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Outstanding.
I'm thrilled to death to have
I'm
you two
thrilled,
guys on the
Gerry.
show tonight.
Mike,
Yeah.
thanks.
Gentlemen,
What a great
Thank you for
reunion.
being on our show. Thank you for watching, and make sure that email us at foxrobbins@gmail.com. Also, past episodes can be seen on Google, the Google Video Library, or at capemedia.org. Thank you to our director, excellent director, David Major, and to the Cape Cod Media Center for helping make this show possible. And we will see you guys next time.